So, a few months ago, I noticed a small classic video game store that had seemingly popped up out of nowhere on a street I walk by quite often. I'm always on the lookout for a variety of the older, hard-to-find games, so, naturally, I went inside. It was a very small shop, about the size of a bedroom, with wooden walls that were bare except for several video game posters on them. They looked like the kind you'd get in issues of Nintendo Power, but they weren't exact matches. There was an Earthbound poster of a frightened Ness staring at a background that shows when you fight Gygus, and a poster of Sonic in a drowning position in a very dark underwater city, among several others. Sadly, the selection of games wasn't very good. They covered systems going all the way back to the Atari 2600, but only had about 10-20 games for each, and most of them were either common ones that everyone had, or crappy ones nobody wanted. I didn't find anything I was interested in, and was about to leave, when something caught my eye. It was a gold Ocarina of Time cartridge. I already had the game, of course, but I had to examine the cartridge because of how beaten up it was. The cover was almost entirely torn off, the plastic was cracked and chipped in many places, and there was something that looked like a burn mark on it. The cart was only $1.99, and for some reason I felt drawn to buying it. The clerk didn't say a word to me, he just took my money, and I left with the cartridge. After leaving the store, I started to wonder why I had bought a copy of a game I already owned, especially one in such horrible condition. Since I had it though, I decided I might as well see if it actually worked. I put it in my Nintendo 64, and when I turned it on, I was immediately greeted by re-dead shrieks and a solid red screen. I turned the system off, pulled out the cart, and put it back in, and tried again. This time, I saw Zelda's character model lying face down, slowly rotating, while Ganon's laugh played. I tried once more and actually got to the intro screen. It had a slowed down version of Hyrule Castle's town music playing, and the game wouldn't respond to the controller. Now, cartridges were capable of some rather odd effects when they were broken or tampered with while the system is turned on. I'd heard about cartridge tilting with Nintendo 64 games, and since I wasn't going to be able to play this game anyway, I decided, well, why not try messing with it? I put the game in once more, getting some glitchy character models while what sounded like cymbals crashing repeatedly sounded. I started slowly tilting the cart, and, to my amazement, this actually made the game start the intro screen with the normal music, and my controller was responding. Two of the files had already had saves on them, so I selected the third and started the game. The game started with the Deku Tree's monologue, but the text was different. It read, "Death is the only thing this cursed land is good for. The cruel goddesses created life, only to toy with it and laugh at the pain of those they gave it to. I wish for death." The last sentence repeated itself several times, filling up about 6 text boxes. The game finally switched to Link, who was in the middle of having a nightmare. It happened normally, more or less. Ganon had Zelda's face. Link woke up with a scream, but there was no Navi, so he got up on his own. I had control of him, so I exited Link's house. There were no other characters in Kokiri Village. I couldn't go into houses either, and the hole you crawl through to get to the Kokiri sword was missing. Since Mido was there, I went directly to the Deku Tree without any problems. No cutscene played, but the dungeon was open and I went inside. The dungeon looked nothing like the one in the normal game. It looked more like the inside of a castle. There were no enemies and I didn't have any items, so I explored. As I went from room to room, I could hear children's laughter, as it got louder and louder. When I finally found a sword, it was sticking through the rib cage of a skeleton, as if it had been used to kill himself a very long time ago. I picked it up, and a text box appeared. "You got the hero's sword. Will you be wise enough to use it for the right purpose?" At that point, a Majora's Mask style Wizrobe, the old man type, appeared. He didn't move as fast as the ones in Majora's Mask, so I was able to kill him easily with the sword. He slumped over, but instead of exploding or fainting as you would expect a Zelda enemy to do, instead, he said something. "You've taken my life, but I will be avenged. My pet will deliver my vengeance." The doors to the room locked, and I began to hear growling and the sound of heavy feet running. This went on for at least 20 minutes. I was becoming more frightened than I should be for any video game character. Finally, a gigantic wolf burst into the room. I tried to fight it, but my sword had no effect. The wolf mutilated Link to death, leaving a bloody corpse behind. The game froze on that shot, and there was no game over screen. I attempted to play the game again, but it never displayed anything except that final shot, no matter what I did.